Hello all. I thought I'd do a house tour today. Recently, feel like I've gotten my house to a good point. I know I originally did a video over a year ago, maybe even a year and a half. I don't know how long at this point of my house, but I feel like it's at a good point now. I've got 400 out of 400 items, so really I can't add anything more without taking something away. Um, so I thought I would make a guided tour this time. Last video was just visual, so this one I'll have some comments to make as we go as well. My idea with this house is as a home for, for my character here. This is my original main character. He's a thief and an assassin for the Aldmeri Dominion. This is a little bit RP, but please bear with me. And so the idea is that this is his residence, and so I'll do this in first person because I think there's a lot of good details that you might otherwise miss by being in third person, and it also keeps me from moving the camera too quickly, to be honest, so I think that's a good thing also. Anyway, let's go in. So this is the Sleek Creek house. It is a medium-sized house, and like I said, it's 400 items is the maximum, which I've recently reached. There are some pros and cons, I think, to medium houses. For one, and I think the biggest thing for me, is that you could put 400 items in this house, and it actually looks really lived in. I had a friend of mine mention when he was looking at this house last night or a day or so ago, it really does feel lived in, and the problem he's having with like a 600 item large house is that it's so much larger that the item limit's really not good enough where you feel like the house is actually lived in. Like it's hard to get a good amount of clutter to show that, hey, someone actually lives here. It's not going to be a pristine place, especially in the world of Tamriel, where things are happening all the time. And so when you have that larger house with such a small limit, I think it's a real chore to actually make you feel lived in. So that's one of the things I loved about this medium-sized house. Just as we get inside, we have our guard dog, a tan Morthal Mastiff. It's got food and water, of course. My mount next to the door. Just have my striped cinch tiger. Again, food and water available. Technically, there's no water here, but we can imagine. I would love to have a water-filled bucket or container, but I don't know if there is one. So, one of the limitations you have in small houses like this is for mounts and pets. In particular, you have a limit of like 6, and this also includes like your banker and your merchant. And so I only ended up putting one of my mounts here, so I selected my striped cinch tiger, which is like what OG subscribers got from subscribing for the original 10 or 12 months of the game, I think it was, leading up to 1 Tamriel. I also have an awning over him or her, I don't want to assume the cat's gender, to keep them dry. So, and you can see that with all of my assistants and most of my pets, that they are underneath something, or they can find shelter if they want. Because I want it to be realistic. I'm not trying to go for any kind of fantastical house. I want it to be a realistic Tamriel house. So for our banker over here, Tithis has his own little area. I've got all the storage containers arranged, and for Tithis himself, a table to sit at, paper to write on, take notes, money that's in the process of being counted, etc. Just trying to make it look realistic for a banker, what they might actually have. A lot of the things that you see in this house, for most of them, they were either crafted by myself or bought from achievement furnitures. Like when you get an achievement, you unlock the ability to buy certain items. A few things, though, such as this scroll or this feather pen and inkwell, I don't know if you can find them outside of like the Crown Furnishing store, which they're all pretty cheap. They're under like 50 crowns or 20 crowns each. Under that, I mean. But I think it adds a good sense of atmosphere for that particular role that we're looking at here, of a banker in this case, and a few other storage items here as well. So behind we have our water well. Okay. Here's the entrance. We got a banner proclaiming my character's alliance, Aldmeri Dominion. And then over here we have our grand tree, and probably the biggest thing you'll be drawn to here, of course, is the giant Elder Scroll floating in the branches of the tree. The Elder Scroll is something you unlock from PvP. You actually have to get to Alliance rank 49 on a character to be able to buy it. I think it's 200k AP is what it cost. But I think it's a good purchase. It's nice. It's a good treasure, I think, to show off in your house if you're able to. But around this, I have like kind of an ethereal garden. I have a lot of flowers and plants that innately have lighting elements to them, but I've also added other small lights here and there underneath them that you can see, such as this one. And you see some others hidden inside other things. This is a butterfly bush, which is cool, so you can see the butterflies flapping around. But now we look back over here. This is Nuzime's area. Nuzime being a merchant, of course, you would imagine that she has other stops to make. So she has a wagon. If she needs to move on to other locations, she can just bring in her horse or whatever and hitch it up and get moving. So it's decorated with an assortment of containers and things that you might expect a merchant to carry. I think it's a pretty nice little area. Under the stairs here I have like a smaller garden, but there's still some cool little things. There's actually not a whole lot of green space in this house, which is good and bad. But so I decorated what I could with flowers and plants. Here's my little planting area. I have a bench to sit on, kind of a watering jug, and some plants. Ostensibly, I'm watering at the moment, and just trying to raise. And nice little water area here. I added some ivy to the walls. I think it's a nice look. I didn't try to mess with the layout at all or add walls or anything. I think it's a nice layout. That's why I bought this house. I added a few banners there. One is Akatosh and one is Kine. I can't remember which one's which. And then of course we have our crafting area. Enchanting table, alchemy table, woodworking, clothing, jewelry, and blacksmithing. And I've added some other elements to these. Of course, for the woodworking, we have a wood pile and an axe and a stump. Some bolts of fabric in this basket, and then a ball of yarn, which is actually from Vardenfell. This is a cat's ball of yarn, and then a couple of items from the weekly vendor in Cold Harbor, which is the spool of thread and the stacks of fabric there, which is cool. I think it's a nice little touch. Yeah, this is I think it was a heliodrum. I forget what we called it. It's from Clockwork City. And inside I put one of the lighting decorations from the newest, what's it called? Not Somerset, the Sigic Isle. Anyway, I thought this was kind of a neat addition right next to everything. We've got some herbs drying and on this pole attached to the ground here, right behind my alchemy table. Whoops. Of course, for my cooking area, I put a few chairs around it. This is my cooking fire. I didn't really add too much to that. I added this fish over here, but you know, there's a table where visitors can grab a mug of beer or get some food to snack on. Some kebabs and empty cups if needed, and a little picnic area as well. So that's a cool little area. I've got a cart here with a variety of fruits and vegetables and some dried meats or cured meats that are hanging here. Trying to get those at the proper angle to look like they were hanging from an angled cart was interesting, but overall nice, I thought. Here's my outfit station. It's hard to tell right now, but it's actually mostly in the sun where you would stand. If you stand close and activate it versus standing far away, standing far away gets you more in the sun when the sun is out, which is nice for outfit station. Anyway, some banners from previous events. Mid-Year Mayhem, actually from last year, and then the Jester Festival and New Life Festival. We go up to the second floor. We've got another banner for the Aldmeri Dominion. This is a cool little statue, I thought. It's a Breton statue. Some more plants scattered around the area, just make it look a little nicer, I think. My red pit wolf pup, kind of keeping an eye on who's coming up the stairs. Some wine and cheese for people who want to sit down and have a break, or just another table with some drinks set up if you just want to sit and look at the scenery out and over the plains of Reaper's March. If we look over the edge, though, we see that maybe not everything is how it seems. Maybe there's something else going on here. And so we walk into the interior of the house. Now for the interior, on the outside it's really kind of like the public face of my character. You know, hey, I'm a crafter, I support the Aldmeri Dominion, which is my faction, for this character at least. And, you know, everything like that. It's a cool place to hang out for my friends, but not everyone gets invited inside. This is kind of my character's inner sanctum. And realistically, for my character's backstory, this is getting way too RP for what I normally do. He is an assassin for the Empire, or Dominion, and also an agent of the Dark Brotherhood and Thieves Guild. So the kitchen and dining is kind of basic, what you would normally see in the kitchen dining area, but a lot of the other decorations follow this other line, where it's like you have the Hughesbane flag, the Shadowstone, and Pirate's flag, and so on. So we have a cooking fire here. I added this pot hanging there, which is a cool little touch, I think. On my counter here, I have an assortment of foods. Got my sweet rolls, of course, some greens, some meat, fruits, lovely pie, and an assortment of liquors. Extra dinnerware, of course. Some bread, even though it doesn't really look like bread to me. I am assured by the game that it's loaves of bread. And a dinner table that has been set. Some people have been eating, some people have eaten, so it's kind of a mixed state of being right now. So, which I think for someone who only brings his assassin friends or thief friends into this part of the house, I think it's more appropriate. So people come and go, so food's ready if they need it. My desk area here, we're showing off some things I've attained. Got some bookshelves up here. My cat's hanging out on top. Flower in a vase, but also we have the augur from Somerset.
So you're a Psijic now, eh? I'd keep that to yourself, mate. If people find out, it'll be nothing but negotiate this treaty and settle this matter of succession. And what fork should I use for salad?
Then just a few other things. The books, if I'll take off my turn back on my UI. Relevant, I think, to my role, books on Erin, random books on Sheogorath, but and then divines and other things. These were all placed by hand, and it took a little time to line it up almost perfectly. They're not quite as close together as you might want them to be, but I'm happy with how it turned out, and I don't want to do it again, basically. On the bookshelf here, I've got some stacks of books I bought, pre-stacked, just to fill in some of the gaps. Got some nice vials and jars here, which I think give a nice look to this thing. Some dice I bought from the crown store for like 5 crowns. And some more scrolls, which I think are a nice touch. This is actually a poison vial from the Dark Brotherhood achievement vendor. I think it looks really cool, but technically is a vial of poison, so don't drink it. Over here I have a bust from Beating VDSA, not on this character, but on my other main character. So I'm not sure if I actually want to leave that there or not. But I mean, the Elder Scroll is from the other character too, so it's really a little bit combined at this point. I used to have a Redguard divider here, which is like all gilded and fancy looking, but I actually thought it looked too fancy for this space, so I went back to the Aldmeri divider, which has some nice decorations at the top, but overall is a little bit more plain, and I think looks better for this space. I'm not a big fan of Khajiit architecture, but I really don't mind this house that much. I couldn't settle on a good chandelier because it looked like it would be too much for this small of a space, but this is actually a wedding light from Hughes Bane achievement vendor, which is cool. Now, my character being a thief, over here I have an assortment of items that he's quote-unquote stolen, one of which is a bust for beating March of Sacrifices on Vet, but then a couple of different chests, and then this grand Alinor clock. Now, I really like this clock, I just didn't think it fit in this space, but I wanted one anyway, of course. So I came up with the idea that, oh, my character being a thief, he's stolen some things, and this is things he just hadn't fenced yet. Let's not think about too much about how he actually stole such a large piece without being noticed. So, this is kind of my Dark Brotherhood corner, I guess. There's the banner, a couple of books, and then vial of poison. I think this is like a rack of poisons, or whatever you want to call it, and then some vials of blood. And of course the Blade of Woe. I actually have a second one in the map of Tamriel up here, which I think is a nice touch. So, at my bed, at the foot of my bed, I have a chest representing a footlocker. On the wall, I have some wanted posters for decoration. I wanted a wood elf and a Breton. Unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be a wood elf wanted poster, so I settled for a high elf male and a Breton female to represent my two main characters. So that's what those represent. You get those by stealing from guards 3 times successfully. On the third try, third successful try, you may actually have a chance at getting a wanted poster. And then fence banner, a couple more books, and then this is the craft bag item that you can place in your house. And I've kind of turned it on its side where it's open, like you can still add stuff in, or you can kind of look at what's inside. I think it's pretty neat. Anyway. The walls being like they are here in this house, I couldn't put in the larger paintings here, but I do like putting the smaller paintings, as you see here, as a nice touch. But yeah, this is the inner part of the house. It's actually not that large, but again, I think it feels lived in. Like, you can tell someone is living here, and they have friends that come over, and things are happening here. It's not just some pristine model home or something like that, you know. Out on the balcony here, I've decided to use it as some more additional storage, so I'm getting a variety of containers out here, casks and such, to demonstrate the storage. Okay. And then my Argonian string lights, which I really think are cool, but unfortunately don't put out a lot of light. But it's actually more noticeable than you think, because if you turn them off, you can see it get noticeably darker. Anyway, that is my house. I hope you have enjoyed this tour. And thanks for watching.